All right, doing a little D&D content here. As I set, primering my pig-faced orcs so that I can use my army paint or speed paints on them and just knock them out. They don't have to be super, super fancy. Just, put colors on them and call it a day. My message for everyone, though, first off, I'm going to start with something really serious. The guys who've been running around lighting Teslas on fire and stuff. I just saw watch Salty Cracker if you haven't, where Homeboy is he's 20 something years old, so he's your typical young stupid Democrat voter, and he's going to end up getting 20 years for what he did, right? And a lot of people are like, 20 years, man, that's a lot of time, 20 years. I mean, he destroyed property. It's not like he killed anybody, right? Wrong. Because when he lit those incredibly toxic vehicles on fire, firefighters, who knows? Maybe one of your uncles or your dad or something's a firefighter. Maybe you're a firefighter and you still lean left for God knows what reason, right? Either way, we won't know how fighting these kind of fires affected them for years, a couple years, right? So while I'm not saying a guy should be charged for what might happen in 10 years, the fact of the matter is many firefighters end up leaving this mortal coil because they are exposed to horrible chemicals during the job. And let me tell you, burning lithium batteries, that is a bad situation right there. And even though you wear PPE, you wear your equipment, sometimes, just like a condom, sometimes things don't work. There's always that chance. So these idiots out here burning Teslas, thinking they're standing up to the man, which makes no sense because it's like, one, it's not like Elon really gives it. Well, I'm sure he cares, but it's not like it's going to affect him. Two, you're a poor working class person that has been wired up by super rich elitists to go after the one guy that's trying to prevent the corruption in our government and the wasteful spending of your tax money. But the people doing this, they're too stupid to realize that they're being used. They're useful idiots. That's what's happening. So if you're one of those people who was considering protesting and going out there to show your discomfort to Trump, but somehow or Elon and Tesla, but somehow you ended up watching this video, my advice is don't be a sucker, right? Don't do it. You got a family. They love you. They don't want to see you in prison, especially since most of you Antifa guys are just skinny little guys. I mean, and you hate Nazis, right? You're always talking about how you want to punch Nazis. Well, if you're a white guy, guess who the first people who are going to talk to you in prison are? Yeah, that's right. It's going to be the Aryan Brotherhood. And you're going to get a choice. You're going to join them, which means you went from punching Nazis to literally being one, or they're just going to let you be free game. And free game means your dance card is going to get punched by every other gang in the prison, and these evil Nazis that you've spent all this time, imagining beating up, they're going to stand by and watch. They're not going to protect you. You're going to be literally screwed. It's going to suck. And I hope that the virtuousness you felt running out there for a bunch of multimillionaire elitists and burning down a Tesla, I hope that's what you're thinking about while you're being horribly abused by basically every other gang in prison. And maybe even, I don't know, maybe, So, yeah, as a retired firefighter and a Christian who wants everyone to do good in life, I'm telling you right now, Don't get involved with this shit. The people who are doing it, they're suckers and they're being played, right? And if you're attacking somebody's personal Tesla, guess what? Elon don't own that Tesla. Some random civilian bought that Tesla and might even be on your side since, a couple of years ago, Tesla was the darling of the liberal left. So now I'm telling you, it's crooks using the simple minded as foot soldiers and brown shirts because they know they're found out. And they are being found out 100%. So, with that said, let's move on to happier stuff. One, I've got all my 3D printed pig faced orcs. I don't know why, but I printed up like 50 of them with various weapons, etc. Shamans, because, in an orc tribe, you got to have some crazy ass shaman orc, that can cast till spells and mage spells because that's a thing for them. And then you got to have your big ass orc leader wearing the heavy armor with this big two-handed sword. These are going to be pretty much dead simple to paint once they are fully cured. The primer, they're fully cured. I got myself a big old D&D style troll with a big ass hammer. So cool. A lot in my homebrew campaign, I use a more Scandinavian style troll. But since we're playing Greyhawk, and that's what I really want to talk about. If you made it past this 5 minutes, then we're going to talk Greyhawk. That's really what's going on. We're playing Greyhawk. We're in the Sheldamar Valley. That's where the main adventures are happening. The players are going to be heading via teleportation from their mage friend near the city of Greyhawk to that mage friend's twin triplet brother, actually. There's triplets of these mages. Back down to the Sheldamar Valley, where they may take part because, there's pay to be had. Plus, it's just the good guy thing to do in stemming the tide of invasion from the Pomage into the Principality of Aulic, which is the one that is mostly ruled by dwarves. Even though humans are still the largest population group, dwarves do make up around 30 or so percent of the population. So, now there's been like Greyhawk Grognard put out a book. I haven't seen it, so I can't review on it. I don't know what got changed. Living Greyhawk and the Greyhawk Wars, I was never a huge fan of. The box set I love and have and will use. And I also have the hardbound, like AD&D / maybe leaning in the second edition Greyhawk book, I think. Or was that Forgotten Realms? Either way, this is my go-to, right? Now, this is a print on demand, obviously. You can tell by how fancy it is and shiny. But I do have an actual one of these eBayed. And no, I'm not. That's, in a sleeve and, because it's a piece of history. This came out, according to this, 1980. So 1980, that means this is 43 or 44 years old. Nice. And the cover art is, some people would be like, that cover art kind of sucks. To me, no. This is inspirational cover art, right? And you open it up, and like Adventure Conquer King setting, there's so much info in such a small count of pages. It really is amazing, This is like if you're wanting to write something, this right here is a masterclass on how to write a setting or something and not give in to the bloat. Every little thing of your setting does not need to be 100% defined, because then you take away the DM's ability to do whatever they want. And of course, this is my favorite page right here, or favorite set of pages. Why? Well, You've got the Grand March, the Duchy, County, and Principality of Oleg, the Kingdom of Kioland, the Wild Coast, Selene, which doesn't let non-elves and gnomes in, the Pomarch, which is ruled over by humanoids like orcs and whatnot. And then you got the Luna up here. If you want to go around this region, you can. Greyhawk City is like right up here. But this region right here, this is always going to be like special to me. So, yeah. They took the Darling map and they just put it in the book. And it all fits together great. Then they added runes that you can use in your Greyhawk game. But this book, if you're looking at total information, this is 30 something pages, not counting maps. 31. And it tells you everything you need to know. So, like about all the rivers and all the forests, geographical figures, and this. And then you can go to the front part and it will give you a like Principality of Oleg, ruled over by His Serene Highness, the Prince of Oleg, Lord of the Peaks of Haven, a fighter thief of 9th, 12th level. The capital is Grirex. That's how I'm saying it. Grirex. That's how I'm going to say it, with a population of 17,000. There are living within here 18,000. In the whole principality, there's 18,000 dwarves, 9,000 mountain dwarves, and then gnomes and halflings. Humanoids are very doubtful. Resources that they produce and export are foodstuffs, silver, and gemstones. So in this area, they're more numerous. It says here dwarves and other demi-humans are more numerous than our humans, except in Grirax, where the larger folks are about twice as common. So since this is right next to the Pomarge, near the Lort Mill Hills, there's always skirmishing and stuff there. So money to be made, adventuring to be had, dungeon delving, burning down orc forts, mugging orcs for gold, etc. And in my opinion, that is what old school is. Of course you want a story. Of course character development is important. But at the end of the day, excitement, adventure, and stakes are where it's actually at. And by stakes, no, I don't mean a nice porterhouse, even though I do love that. I mean, the players have to feel like what they're doing matters and that what they're doing could get them killed. That makes what they're doing exciting and adventurous and whatever. I mean, if you're playing a game and the players know for some reason, maybe you've just been too easy on them as a DM, it happens, no judgment. And there are some very bad DMs out there that'll tell you to fudge the dice and let the players survive, even though they shouldn't. Yes, those are bad DMs because they think they're being nice to their players, but what they're doing is they're denying their players the full experience of D&D. And part of that experience, as with our lives that we live here in real life, is when you do things, when you do hold my beer moments, there is a chance that you will be able to surf on the hood of that Chrysler and everyone will think you're super cool. But there's also a little bit of a probability, a little bit of a chance that you will get slung off of that Chrysler and get, pavement burns all over yourself, and everybody will just laugh at you. That, of course, don't worry about where I get that analogy from. The point is, if the players never feel like they can die, they will never fully invest in the game. So it doesn't matter. She might be married to you. You might share a bed with her, or, whatever. They might be your best friend or brother. If the dice say they have to die, they have to die. Roll the dice in the open. The second the players think you're fudging dice, you're done. You're done, because now they some of them will just straight up call you out on it because a lot of players hate that. Like, again, bad DMs on here will try to convince you that sometimes you should fudge the dice because of the story, blah, 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 right? But the reality is, most players, if they know that you're going to fudge the dice, they will not take anything you do seriously from that point on, you know, because now they know they're not living in an alternate world and their characters don't represent anything. They're just playing at Disney World, and who cares? You know, what happens? I can make the bad decisions because the DM won't kill me, right? Uh, yeah. If you ever get to that point with your players, you're cooked, 100% cooked. The only way for you to save yourself from that roasting that you've delivered upon yourself is to straighten the hell up, start rolling it out. And if a character, through bad luck or bad planning or bad whatever, dies, you know, sometimes it can just be a sequence of bad dice rolls because that's how luck works, you know. Or maybe the gods have determined of your campaign world that it's just their time to go. But yeah, that's the only way you can fix that is you got to start rolling it out. And if they die, let them. Don't listen to anybody telling you to fudge dice. That is the worst DM advice ever. Even if the person telling you to fudge dice happens to be a close personal YouTube friend of mine and you've seen them on my show, I still stand by what I'm saying. If they tell you to fudge dice to keep players alive, they're doing it wrong. I don't care. Even if you're running a game for little kids that are like 12 years old, don't be afraid to let their character die. They need to realize their character can die. And that'll, you know, there might be some tears, but they need to realize that because, hell, they might not even care because by the time a lot of young people are 12 years old, they've probably already played video games and they understand the point that, yeah, if you screw up, you could die, right? Now, if you want to throw something in there where, well, if your party can get you to a cleric and, you know, there can be a big debt accrued or something and the character can be brought to life because you're feeling really nice. And unlike me and my homebrew, you allow reincarnation and resurrection and all that in your game. I don't. Um, that's okay. It's okay if a player dies, but then gets brought back due to, you know, some kind of clerical intervention, right? What's not okay though is you stepping in because as I'm trying to express in the best way I can, I am not a great speaker. Um, you are again ripping your players off. You're making the game feel fake, and they will never, ever, ever fully invest in the story, their characters, anything, if they think that nothing really matters because you're always going to save them. Don't. So there you go. Rule set. Well, I have so many rule sets to choose from. Castles and Crusades. I've got the latest printing with the homage covers. Amazing game. Love it. ACKS, no, because if I run Adventure Conquer King, I'm running Adventure Conquer King in the setting, the empire that Macros wrote, because it is my absolute favorite setting of all time uh, that is printed. Greyhawk, well, okay, let's say it's tied for classic Greyhawk. The reason I chose Greyhawk is the characters have old school essentials, advanced characters already, and we're just going to pick up the campaign, which ended in Greyhawk. So that's why we're not playing Adventure Conquer Kings, which I highly recommend to anyone. And the new one is amazing too. I haven't got the books yet because been broke. You know, bought a pew pew and it costs a lot of money, and vacations and whatnot. But I intend to. as soon as I sell off this Warhammer stuff. But anyway, so I'm going to get this video uploaded and continue with my labor of love at painting all these orcs and stuff. Why? Because these guys will be on a table soon. I've got my UDT, and I'm sure if the players do decide to take the trip down to the Principality of Ulick to fight the armies of Famarge, well, guess what? That means they're going to be facing orcs, hobgoblins, goblins, whatever. And even though I've already got a bunch of otherworld pig-faced orcs painted, I 3D printed these STLs from Warp Games. That's the studio that makes them. And I'm a huge fan of them too. And they really fit in pretty nicely with the otherworld orcs. So if I need to fill 30 orcs, and you might think, wow, that's a lot of orcs for a group to fight. Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes the group, depending on if everybody can show up, well, I'll have 10 players at the table. And they're all level 5, 6, or 7. So 30 orcs, honestly, they can take care of pretty quick. A couple of fireballs, a lightning bolt, the fighter going on a mad dash through a bunch of them, using extra attacks and whatever, and you can really see that 30 orcs is not that big of a fight for them. However, it's big enough to be a threat, but they should be able to win it. And plus, it makes them feel epic. The fact that we're using OSC Advanced means that a combat between 8 to 10 players, maybe some henchmen, and 30 orcs will go really quick. Believe it or not, it's not like that kind of combat will dominate all 4 or 5 hours of the game night. It will go quick, and it will feel epic, especially if there's a big boss orc in there that's like higher level and a big threat. Plus, maybe that boss orc maybe that great axe is a +1 great axe. Wouldn't that be awesome, right? And you can even make it crazier because you can have the orc shaman or shamans. I have a couple of them in the rear of the orc line, trying to heal orcs. So if the player hits an orc and doesn't kill it outright, maybe during its turn, the orc shaman does a cure light wounds, because they're like 3rd level cleric casters. Well, they're shamans, so they kind of get clerical and magic type abilities, kind of, sort of. Not really, but sort of. So yeah, and again, that will make the battle more interesting because if the players aren't smart, they will ignore the orc casters to their own peril, and I will 100% take full advantage of that. I mean, everybody knows one of the basic rules every player should know, and every DM should know and implement is anything intelligent, orc on up, whatever, will always try to kill the caster because they know the caster is basically the big hitter in the enemy group. And that's why it's so important for, if you're playing a mage, staying behind fighters and stuff and trying your best not to get hit, especially in systems where if you get hit, the spell you're trying to cast just ends. And that is why it's important for fighters to understand that they need to protect that orc. And maybe if they want to be more aggressive, some other character needs to step in, whether it's a cleric, a thief, ranger, whatever. But somebody needs to bodyguard the damn caster. And you can bet that the orc shaman is going to have a couple of guys, a couple of these evil ass orcs. Yes, my orcs are evil, always evil, always. Even half orcs are evil and can never be good. The best they can hope for is neutral. Because you know why? Because F5E and all that bullshit. Orcs were created by an evil god specifically to be evil bastards. So yeah, I'm not playing this new bullshit. The next thing you know, they'll be arguing that, well, are all demons actually really evil? It's like they are the actual physical incarnation of evil. You new players, you're idiots. So, anyway, or I shouldn't say new players because it's a lot of older players that have copped on to this thing because I don't know, they want to be part of the cool kid crowd. And me, I am so used to when I was young being a loner that I don't mind being a loner. Add that with the fact that I'm basically a zealot when it comes to everything I believe. And when you hear me tell you the way I feel about things, you can freaking bet on it. You know what I mean? I will never lie to you about my feelings on stuff, even if it makes YouTube mad at me. I will never lie. So there it is. Orcs are evil. Drow are evil. It has nothing to do with their skin tone, or maybe it does, because you could say that the reason the Drow were marked was because the good guy elves were having a hard time telling who the bad guy elves were. So eventually, Corellon decided to put a mojo on the bad guy elves during this massive war that was going on. And that mojo was to make their skin as black as their heart. Right now, that's magic. That has nothing to do with Africans. So anyone who tries to argue otherwise is stupid. Also, I don't paint my orcs green because Warcraft orcs are lame and or just gay. No, they're pig colored. You know, you paint them pig colored. If you want to put a shade of green on them after you've painted the flesh, a pig color just to give them kind of a green tinge, like they look kind of sickly, that is acceptable for your pig faced orcs. Now, if you're painting Tolkien orcs, paint Tolkien orcs. They can have skin colors ranging from very dark to very sallow. Doesn't matter. But yeah. Uh, so, a recap: lithium batteries emit horrible, deadly chemicals when you burn them, which means the firefighters, whose entire goal is to help you when you most need help, if you're lighting these things on fire, you are literally poisoning the one group of people who are there 100% of the time to help you, your grandma, whoever out. That makes you a scumbag, right? Two, Greyhawk, amazing setting. If you don't know anything about it, learn about it. It's an amazing setting, and plus, if you use the little gazetteer like I use, um, you can make it whatever you want it to be, right? No problem, right? And three, orcs are evil. And I am running OSC Advanced Sunday nights. You will get recaps. Still working with one player who is an old school player, AD&D in the whole lot, who's just having such a hard time he's such a nice guy. He wants to play what the group wants him to play, except the group doesn't care. They want him to play whatever he wants to play. So we're having that debate, you know? And it's like, look, we've got clerics, we've got mages, we've got thieves, we've got rangers, um, you know, we've got druids. So really, there's no weaknesses in this party, because there's 8, sometimes 10 of them. So I'm going to have to talk to this dude who is my bro. I consider him my bro. I hope he considers me his bro. And maybe one day will be my brother-in-law. And I need to figure it out. Now, the other guy's probably going to want to play a half orc because he almost always does play a half orc. And he started D&D basically mostly in 3rd edition. So I'm going to have to clue him in on the fact that in old school D&D, half orcs were a totally different experience, right? And they don't have to be half human. That's one thing a lot of people miss. Half orcs can be half orc, half goblin, half orc, half hobgoblin, half orc, half literally anything. Because one of the things about orcs are they're very, what would they say, fecund. Uh, but in layman's terms, it means they will reproduce non-consensually with pretty much any humanoid out there. And the only pairing that will not produce children is them and elves. So a half orc is half orc and half God knows what. And a lot of times they end up rising to positions of power within orc tribes because if you have a half orc, half human, well, he's going to be a bit smarter than your average orc and maybe even a bit bigger. So, I mean, orcs, every orc technically is part something at this point, I would say. Like, are there purebred orcs? Probably not, because, they're out there raiding and rampaging and taking slaves and having all these half things that, yeah, I mean, at this point, who knows? I guess that means you can make your orcs look like whatever you want. I just like the pig faced ones. I'm ending it there. That's some heavy shit, but I think I summarized everything well enough. I think I made my point strongly enough. I mean, yes, I'm wearing my 24th Infantry Division hat today. And of course, my Slavic tuxedo. Be good. Have fun with your games. God bless. You know, if you're feeling angry or something, get yourself one of these or 10 of them and keep it nearby so that you can look at the face of Christ, the Messiah, and try to calm the hell down and treat people better, right? But am I a hypocrite? Yes. Don't point it out. I know I'm the worst. But and also remember this: D&D is supposed to be fun, but sometimes if you know you can't lose, there's no fun there. The fun is the challenge. So I don't care who tells you. I don't care if even Donald Trump says, hey, it's okay to fudge the dice. Sometimes you need to fudge the dice because you don't want the character to die, because they're the greatest character ever that anyone's ever heard of, and you don't want them to die. It would be a bad thing. You might have to put tariffs on the other players. No, do not fudge the dice. It destroys trust. And you cannot have a good game group if the players don't trust you, the DM. That is my 100% honest advice, reiterated again, because, repetition leads to learning. And as I've been doing this since 83, trust me, I've made all the mistakes. So now I'm telling you what aren't the mistakes. This applies to every role-playing game. Whether it's Traveler, it doesn't matter. If you start fudging dice, if you don't immediately fix that, you're going to find yourself in a really bad situation. And I don't want that for you guys. I want you guys to have the most fun you can have playing one of the greatest games in the world, if not the greatest, which is TSR style D&D. Whether it's Osric, Dragon Slayer, OSC, whatever your favorite is, let's be honest. The best D&D is TSR D&D and games based on TSR D&D. So again, peace and love. Bless you. Be good. Enjoy your game and always be honest and direct with your players. And that includes, I say for the fourth or fifth time, rolling dice in front of everybody and never fudging. Because fudging dice is lying. And lying is cowardly and also sinful. And who wants to be a cowardly, sinful person? Nobody does. I mean, you might even, I wonder, let's end with this weird philosophical thought. If you fudge dice at the D&D table and you are a believer, when you go to church, might you have to repent and make confession and contrition with the priest over the fact that you basically lied to your whole DM group, or your whole player group as the DM? I don't know because I'm not a priest, but it feels like you might, because you're supposed to repent for lying. And like I said, fudging dice is lying. You are lying to the players. You're telling them something happened other than what actually happened. And that's not good. Don't do it. End in the video now. Catch you next one. Do, 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 do.